From Matt Rhule on Monday, is Nebraska ready to win?
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase.
All right, welcome. It's Tuesday here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer here from 1620 The Zone. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Michigan Week, Part 2. Nebraska gets prepared for a big one to try and snap their 27-game losing streak against AP top 25 teams.
There it is.
By the way, another week has gone by, and another week that people have issues with people's ballots on the AP poll. So yeah, that doesn't have to be a talking point, but it's going to be for people who care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The great thing is we don't have to talk about that this week because we got a big game right in front of us.
Exactly. It's amazing. We're going to actually talk about like the game and the matchups and how the team feels going into it. That's where Matt Rhule comes into play. He spoke yesterday at his Monday press conference. I think they've been clearly, waiting for this one. At the same time, you still have a lot to accomplish in the weeks in which you're not playing important games, which Nebraska hasn't been over the last couple weeks. Here's Matt Rhule at his. Sorry, you have something to say there, Mitch. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was opening my mouth to speak. You could see that on the YouTube.
I was just gonna, it's good for us.
Yes, watch us on the video. Open and close our mouths and see if sounds come out. So I was thinking about the comparison between this week and the buildup this week, or the potential buildup, like at least the buildup outside of the team, and how it's comparable to what we had in week 2 last year against Colorado. And so I think it's because this was the game when the schedule came out, and we knew the date of the Colorado game far in advance because it's a non-conference game. When the schedule came out that showed the dates of Nebraska's 2025 opponents, this was like last fall. You said, ooh, look, Michigan to open the conference season on September 20th. So it's the one that people have been pointing to for months and months, including, I would say, people inside the program. So it's been interesting for me as we've gotten into this week to hear how that now plays out. Is it the same as the game on the early season schedule last year when Nebraska made a whole thing out of being excited for the Colorado game? And I'm sensing something different, which leads us into Matt Rhule.
Yeah, me too. So let's hear from him yesterday and sort of how they're feeling going into the week.
With that, we turn to this week. Obviously, we've won 5 of our last 6. And so our guys are starting to understand the process. They're starting to understand going back into last year how to do things at a high level. They weren't giddy yesterday. They weren't happy about some of the things. There's some things we have to really improve upon. I'll make light of a couple. Obviously, our kickoffs right now it's in the kicking game. We can't keep kicking the ball out of bounds. When we do kick the ball, we had some good coverage, but that has to improve. Our goal to go offense inside the 10. We're 69% red zone touchdowns. Our goal is 70. 70 is we think a CFP number. Yet inside the 5 or 6 of our last 9, 3 of them we haven't scored. So the number should be through the roof right now. So we have to improve that. And then defensively, obviously, we're facing a team that's 15th. I believe their rushing offense is 15th. And so they have a quarterback who's mobile, who can run. And so obviously that showed up in the first game. They will use tempo. They will use sugar huddle. So those are things that showed up in the first game we haven't seen in the last 2, but we'll have to be prepared for that. So a lot for us to work on. I love the way the guys have approached it. And now it begins. A Big Ten season begins, and we're excited for it.
I will say this. Before the Colorado game last year, I think I don't know if he downplayed it, but the attitude, or at least the demeanor, kind of felt the same. But then when we got to that night and then we saw all the videos come out and all that stuff afterwards, it was a different tone. And so I imagine that he will stress to his team this week, like, yeah, this is a big game. We're not running from it. But at the same time, you're trying to not put all your eggs into this basket because, we've talked about this a couple times on this show, Mitch. Like they had a little bit of a letdown in the second half last year against Colorado, and then they got a hangover afterwards. And that set the tone for the next few games of the season after that. So Nebraska has to find a way to play well and then maintain it afterwards.
When the coach starts talking about sugar huddle, there's big things on the horizon. Do you know what the sugar huddle is?
Yeah, it's just like a half, like barely huddle, just like, you're almost in a no huddle. You're getting the play from the sideline, but you're also kind of huddling up.
Yeah, by definition, it's just the QB and the 5 offensive linemen, and they just huddle up about 2 yards behind the line in a no huddle system. So look for that from Michigan. And I think, and in talking to my coworker at The Athletic, Austin Meek, yesterday about how things are in Ann Arbor coming off that big win, that blowout win against Central Michigan, and then into Nebraska week, there is a measure of like a loose feeling, like not the opposite of uptight, which you might expect when the head coach is sitting on the sideline. But Biff Poggi, the interim coach, the acting coach for Michigan, is much more, he's a different personality from Sharon Moore, a different personality from Jim Harbaugh. The Harbaugh and Moore are more of the typical, I'm not going to tell you anything that's going on. I'm going to try to deceive the opponent through the media in what we say. If I say this, you might have to think we're doing that. Where Poggi is just way more straightforward, like old school. I mean, he's old, so old school is not surprising. And just kind of saying what they're going to do. Not that Michigan's going to lay out its whole game plan through interviews and such, but he said, "Yeah, we got more from Biff in a Saturday post game and the Monday press conference than we've heard from Sharon Moore in 2 seasons." So I don't know, like how that translates, what that means, but you saw Michigan go out and win 63-3 on Saturday against a bad opponent. So we'll see. Like, what does Michigan play a little bit more relaxed? Like, is the pressure somehow off because they've made it to this place where, okay, our head coach is gone, but we can still go out and do this?
Maybe. I don't know. They're really weird about that stuff. I feel like the coach of Michigan is always crying because the other coach is not there. Remember Sharon Moore after, I think it was after they beat Ohio State a couple years ago, and it was like Jim Harbaugh had died, and it sounds like it was basically
on Monday Night Football.
Yeah. It's basically sounds like it was the same thing. When Biff Poggi took over and Sharon Moore was out the door, they made a big deal out of it. And Sharon was like, I gotta go, see you later. Yeah. And, he was like, don't play for me. And Biff Poggi was like, no, we are playing for him. And it was all this emotional scene. Like, these guys are weird. They take it way seriously. I don't know what that means as far as the game is concerned, but I don't know. The thing that the thing that has always stuck out to me about Michigan and the way that Michigan acts is they really enjoy themselves and they think highly of themselves. So we'll see how that plays with a coach who might not exactly have that same feeling about himself because he's not like an original, true, quote unquote, Michigan man, even though he will be required to wear sleeves on Saturday.
Oh, is there a requirement? I think he will wear sleeves.
He will wear sleeves. I assume he didn't want to wear sleeves. It's going to be, well, I guess it's not going to be that hot on Saturday.
Could rain.
I bet they told him like, hey, you got to wear sleeves. You're the coach of Michigan. You can wear khakis and gloves if you want, but you got to wear sleeves.
Since Nebraska didn't play Michigan last year, this is the first podcast that we've done to preview a Michigan-Nebraska game. So I until that last answer from you, I kind of forgot, like, we're at the moment where Connor really doesn't like Michigan.
I hate Michigan. Out. Yes, yeah. I hate Michigan. I don't know why more people don't hate Michigan. I don't understand that. But yeah, I hope that feeling comes back for some people at the end of this week to get the juices flowing a little bit.
So instead of like sticking their chest out, and we'll hear from Nebraska players and the coordinators on Tuesday in Lincoln. But from what I heard Saturday after the game, and I made it a point to go into the Hawks Center into the field area where they do the breakout interviews and you get a chance to talk to players one-on-one. Like, I was not all that excited to hear the Nebraska players review the 59-7 win against Houston Christian. So it's more informal on the playing field out there with the interviews. And I was curious to go in there because that's where a lot of the stuff came out last year after week one with players like showing, I don't know, swag, you might call it, in their feelings about CU. I went in there to kind of get a sense of the temperature. And all I got was, nope, it's a nameless, faceless opponent. We're going into Big Ten season. We're not worried about the helmet, all this kind of stuff. And then you have Matt Rhule come out on Monday and say, we got to address the kickoffs. They've had two or three, I think it's three, that have gone out of bounds in 3 games. We got to address the goal to go offense. He mentioned 6 of the last 9 or 3 of the last 9 times Nebraska's been inside the 10-yard line. It's or with a goal to go situation, it has failed to score at all. Saw one of those happen again on Saturday, although it was at a blowout time in the game. And I just think Nebraska's a more mature football program, even a more mature athletic department right now than it's been maybe at any time in the Big Ten era, which goes back 14 years.
Maybe. Yeah. I love when players do that because like there's extra juice this week. Like they can tell you that there's not.
I don't think they're denying that.
No, yeah, but there is an emotional sort of, maturity to say even throughout the week, like, no, it's about what we do. We got to take care of our business, and it's Michigan that's coming in on Saturday. I guess we'll play them.
Yeah. Like you could take it too far. You could take it too far and be like, oh, I hadn't even noticed it's Michigan. That's not what they're doing. It's like, it's time for the Big Ten. Like Rhule said, there's going to be a lot of ranked opponents coming up on the schedule. That's debatable. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be. You're going to have Penn State, maybe USC, probably USC. But regardless, his point is they're going to play a lot of good teams. Yeah.
And so you're right. And I don't mind the way that they're approaching it this week, but make no mistake about it. There's they know they know who they're playing and they know what's on the line this week. It's Nebraska's. I don't know if they understand this part, but it's Nebraska's chance to get back on the map. I wonder if that message will be communicated at any point throughout the probably later.
He didn't want to go into what the theme was this week. He was asked by Amy Just on Monday about what's your theme this week, and he's like, I'm not going to get into that every week. We kind of went into it last week because it involved the red on red uniforms, but it's not going to be a thing every week where we come out and tell you what the theme is. And that's, from our standpoint, I'd like to know because I'd like to know things, but for the team situation, it's probably for the best.
We'll find out when they walk in with their t-shirts on Saturday.
Right. Exactly.
All right. We'll take a quick time out. We will touch on a little bit of volleyball tonight in downtown Omaha coming up next. But first, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. We have the season that is going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. It is here. So if you haven't got it on the action yet, it's time to right now. Whether you got your eye on big name quarterbacks, breakout running backs, whatever it might be, taking a look at Thursday night, Saturday in college football, Sunday in the NFL, Monday. I mean, we had 2 Monday night games last night. You can get on board with all of it with Prize Picks. It's very simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On College to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, we're back. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer with you. Tuesday episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Later today, Dana Holgorsen, John Butler, Dylan Raiola, and a bunch of Nebraska players will speak to the media. We will have our takes on all of that Wednesday in our regular episode. Get your mailbag questions in for Friday. We're going to do that. We're promising a potential. You promise something potentially. We're hoping, we're efforting for a guest on the Thursday episode. That should be exciting for at least a segment of our listening and viewing audience.
We can promise you that we'll try.
We're trying. There's some things that are out of our control, and we're hoping to run down this guest. And I think this guest is prepared to come on with us, but sometimes there's external factors that get in the way. So find out Thursday. Tonight in downtown Omaha. I'm excited about this. And I know people are excited to see you tonight, Connor. Number 1, Nebraska.
They're going to really, listeners of this podcast are really going to enjoy seeing me tonight.
Number 1, Nebraska volleyball team. Number 18, Creighton. It is sold out. They are set to break an attendance record, assuming that they count tickets sold. I think there'll be 17,000 plus actually in the arena. This is not the kind of event where you buy a ticket and then don't show up. The record for an indoor regular season match, and you have to say indoor because it's not going to get to 92,000 the 92,000 that Nebraska had outdoors for a regular season match 2 years ago. It's 17,037 held by Marquette in Wisconsin at the Fiserv Forum. It's where the Bucks play in 2023.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Previously held by this game, right?
Yeah.
Before
15
that.
plus from 22, I believe. So they're going to break it tonight. They're going to go over 17,037. The arena has gotten up to 18,000 for basketball, for Creighton basketball games. You might not see quite that number, but I think it'll be in the high 17s. And it's going to be a lot of fun tonight out there. A celebration, another celebration of volleyball in the state of Nebraska. So come out and see the top ranked team in the country. Come out and see Creighton, which is the only non-Power 4 team in the top 25 this week. So you have only teams. Well, I'm not going to spell out what the power conferences are. You know that, but the Jays are playing an extremely difficult schedule, and this is another one of those matches to get themselves in position for the postseason after they go take care of business in the Big East very soon.
Yeah, and they've pecked away a little bit, no pun intended, at a couple of the top teams. I mean, they put Penn State in their first match and performed okay, even though it was a sweep, and took a set off Louisville on Friday night. So, I mean, they're kind of dangerous. They're not at the same level as they were a year ago, but we'll see what happens on the actual volleyball court tonight. And you may have heard this already, but downtown Omaha is currently a disaster as it pertains to construction.
Traffic.
So yes,
they're just removing streets for no reason.
Correct. Leave yourself some time if you're going down to the arena tonight. Whatever you think is early, get there a little earlier.
Yeah, I hear you, and that's good advice. I'm going to take that advice because I will be there tonight in the building. All right, continuing with the theme of Nebraska as a mature football program. Here's a thought: the quarterback. Most important position on the field, we can agree. The coaching that Nebraska's quarterbacks are getting right now is at a level that's different from any time since what? I went back, and this was a little exercise that I did in my head, and I came up with Sean Watson coaching Joe Gans in 2008. So apologies to Tim Beck and the job that he did with Taylor Martinez and Tommy Armstrong. And maybe you can add in Mario Verduzco and the job that he did with freshman Adrian Martinez in 18. But this is better. It's better because it's not just Dana Holgorsen. Nebraska is putting the importance on coaching the quarterbacks that it deserves. And for whatever reason, that hasn't been the case in the last maybe 15 years of Nebraska football. So Dylan Raiola and TJ Lateef have Holgorsen as the main man. He's the chief engineer of the offense. And then Glenn Thomas, like he's behind the scenes on the ground level, just working to make sure that everything is buttoned up, and it's paying off in the production that you see, the grasp of the offense that you're recognizing from Raiola and TJ Lateef.
So, okay. So basically the question here is, as it's an interesting one, as I sort of think about it, does it basically boil down to best OC quarterback combo of the, this period of time?
You could throw in the backup if you want. Like
okay.
I think the Lateef factors into this too, because you never know when he's going to be a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
But mainly yes.
Yeah,
Coach
I don't know
starter.
about Latif, but the starting quarterback
I'm
OC.
all in. I'm all in on TJ. Go ahead.
We'll see what ends up happening there. But right now, like, it doesn't matter for this team. It really, unless Dylan gets hurt. So, like, starting quarterback combined with OC, I quick run through in my head. There's no way that this won't age as the best OC quarterback combo that Nebraska's ever had post Osborne. Like, there's no way that this isn't the best one. He's a great offensive coordinator combined with what is growing to be a great quarterback at the college level. Yeah, Nebraska's had sometimes one or the other, and usually neither over the last 20 years. Yeah, they're in a good position with those two right now.
In hindsight, it's just kind of stunning to look back and say, like, how much Nebraska maybe didn't prioritize it. All right, so I asked Rhule on Monday about his assessment of Raiola from right now in comparison to a year ago at this time when Dylan was getting ready to play in his first Big Ten game. And because it's interesting to me because that's what Bryce Underwood, the Michigan freshman quarterback, is doing. And they are similar in terms of their just like talent level, like different types of talents, but just like the ceiling that they have as freshman starters. So here is Matt Rhule's answer to that question.
Everything Dylan went through last year was for the first time, right? So it was like, here's my first time, Big Ten opener as a freshman. Here's my first time. We had the amazing atmosphere of the Colorado game, which was an epic atmosphere. So we had that first, but we had all those things. The thing, each person though, they have an innate internal motivation and competitive drive. And I remember saying in a press conference last year, like, Dylan was throwing after practice, and he was like play faking and throwing, and he was practicing the throw against Illinois when Luke ran down the middle of the field on third down and we didn't connect it, and he was like, that'll never happen to me again. And it's those guys who are driven by the adverse. A lot of guys, adversity hits, they don't want to think about it. It's just too painful. They go to find people who will tell them, hey, don't worry about it. The great ones are driven by that kind of stuff, and so, but yeah, I think it's it was difficult. This will be game 17 for him. He's game 16 for him coming up, 16. We played 13 last year. He played 3 this year so far. So this will be game 17. Dylan will just get better and better and better. And, we haven't had to go down in 2 minutes to win a game that matters, and we had 2 minutes before the half, and that was not him. That's us as an offense. So it's about going, I bet you he's up there right now. If he's not in class, I bet you he's up there right now, just chasing edges. He sent me a text, on Saturday after the game. He sent me a text, and it was him, his whiteboard at his house or apartment, wherever he lives. And it was Michigan, and he was already starting to draw up the stuff. So, he'll be prepared.
How's it? All right. He'll be prepared. There you go. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what I mean, there's going to be some serious overreactions when that happens, but whenever Dylan Raiola really gets into a moment, because what we've seen so far is wouldn't register as positive in this category of like, hey, ball's in your hand, we got to drive, we got to go 40 to 75 yards to tie or win the game. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Go. I can't wait wait for that to happen, because they seem to think he's ready and prepared for it. There's a couple times where that happened last year. The Illinois game is one of them, where it went horribly. It went extremely poorly. So, especially in overtime. So, I can't wait for him to get the opportunity to do that again.
Yeah. Interesting to hear Rhule, gave a couple examples of I think a look inside Dylan's preparation, inside his mind. One, the fact that he was dwelling on one missed throw. That was a huge play in the Illinois game last year where Nebraska had an opportunity to basically win that game in regulation, and Dylan overshot Luke Lindenmeyer, and he was out at practice going through that in his mind and physically, and made the comment that it would never happen again. That's a bold thing to say. And then also the wherever Dylan lives, wherever that is, he was at home on Saturday night. That was Rhule. Like, I don't know. I don't know where he's at, but he was at home.
I don't know.
Yeah. Working on working on his whiteboard. Saturday night, the day of the game, he was already getting a jump. I know Dylan went to volleyball on Saturday, so this must have been like late at night before the Crawford fight. But he was writing up stuff about Michigan. So Nebraska fans can take comfort in the fact that their quarterback has been taking this very seriously. Like Dylan operates like, in a lot of ways, he models what he's doing after what his knowledge is of how an NFL quarterback would attack his week. That's just what you're getting. And don't take it for granted. Like not all college guys, not all 20-year-olds do it that way.
All right, let's take a break. Couple more nuggets from Rhule, including an Australian accent, why he's Forrest Gump, and more coming up next.
College football is back, and I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. It is the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. You can even go onto the Game Time app today and check out views from your seats for that big volleyball match that we're talking about that's going on in downtown Omaha tonight. Or what about Memorial Stadium this Saturday? The game's sold out, but you can find tickets on Game Time. Take advantage of Zone Deals. Try that out. With Zone Deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and then you save money. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today.
So I've said this before on the show, Mitch. Matt Rhule he's kind of everywhere, right? You've noticed this. He has the ability to get places. We talked about the private jet and the reaction show on Sunday. But as we now know, he showed up at that Bud Crawford fight on Saturday night, basically immediately after Nebraska got done playing that afternoon against Houston Christian, and then came back and was back for a Sunday work day in the office immediately afterwards. So we knew that. He told us yesterday that was the greatest sporting event that he has ever attended, bar none. And then he let us in on some other sporting events that he has attended, like the 28-3 Tom Brady comeback against the Falcons in the Super Bowl in 2017. He was there. Game 6 and 7, by the way, of the 1986 World Series, aka the Buckner game.
Yeah, how about that?
Matt Rhule was there. I swear to God, I don't really like. There has to be a Forrest Gump spinoff where we just put Matt Rhule in these places. I wonder where he was sitting. Like, I don't know. This is worth a.
There has to be footage out there somewhere from like the broadcast that you can see. Oh, look, there's Matt Rhule, 12-year-old Matt Rhule in the background.
All these
as the ball goes through Bill Buckner's legs, he's cheering wildly.
All these famous games throughout history. Matt Rhule was just there. So, I mean, those are epic all-timers. And Matt Rhule said that the Crawford-Canelo fight on Saturday was the best one.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. 41 million people watched that on Netflix. So not going to get an argument from many of them, at least the Bud Crawford fans. Okay. An interesting nugget from Rhule that we heard on Monday about freshman safety Rex Guthrie. Nebraska hosted an NFL exec last week. And if you watch his podcast, House Rules, you might be able to figure out who that NFL exec was. But this person asked about who was wearing number 21 in Nebraska's practice. And Rhule said, "Oh, Emmett Johnson? Yeah, he's going to the league." And the guy's like, No. I'm talking about the guy on defense in number 21. And Rhule said, "Oh, that's Rex Guthrie, man." And then Rex Guthrie went out and led Nebraska in tackles last week. This guy plays fast. Like, he's instinctive. He's really turning into a good player. You're not going to see him, barring injury, playing 50 snaps in a game because he is at the same position as Deshaun Singleton. Now, maybe somebody else goes down or Rex continues to up his play and he turns out to be a starter at some point this year alongside Singleton in the secondary. But just to know, this is more evidence. First of all, he's a really good player. And he's going to be a starter next year for sure. This is more evidence of the job that I think Nebraska's doing in putting a top-notch secondary on the field. It's not just the starters. And by the way, on the starters, Sierra Wright, Deshaun Singleton, Marquise Buford, the guys Malcolm Hartzog, who've been doing this for a long time. They're very good. And are they the best in the country? I don't know, but they're very good. So like I said, with Dylan Raiola and like his study habits, appreciate what you have with those guys right now.
Yeah, they're in a really good spot. It's the comment from the NFL exec was apparently, I like the way he moves, talking about Guthrie, which is certainly a good sign. He's flashed a little bit in the first couple games. We don't talk probably enough about Wright. And Rhule mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Is like, yeah, eventually you guys probably won't talk about Sierra because nobody will throw at him. Nobody's thrown at him. I think they've thrown at him like twice. Now, given that Nebraska's only allowed like 60 some passing yards in every game so far, there's not really much to go off of here, but I do think that'll be a thing that carries over. Nebraska should have a pretty good secondary. I don't know if it'll be the best in the country as it is right now in pass defense, but it should be pretty good.
Sierra moved inside to play, or shifted to play in like the nickel corner spot because they wanted to have Donovan Jones, out there on the edge. Like, he likes being on an island and getting physical with receivers at the line of scrimmage. Will be interesting to see if they choose to do that. It's a different level of athlete that he would be matched up against, comparing Michigan to Houston Christian. So I would imagine they'll go back with putting Sierra on an outside receiver, but you don't know. Singleton is doing a nice, not Singleton. Jones is doing a nice job. Early leader, not in the clubhouse yet. Early leader for assistant coach of the year at Nebraska this season, Addison Williams.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, his group is certainly playing the best at this point. You can probably give a little shout out to DeKeel Shorts as well. That group's playing pretty well.
Two new guys
as well. And we'll let you go with this. So I think we mentioned this in the Sunday pod, or maybe we did it yesterday. Archie Wilson did not punt yet again. He's only punted 4 times the entire year, all in the Cincinnati game. His parents are in town, and Nebraska fans are dying to give a standing ovation to Archie Wilson. And he once again did not punt on Saturday, but he did go in the game in the very last play as sort of the safe man, or the just stand there guy in a kneel down formation. Whose idea was that? Well, let's hear it from the coach himself.
How got Archie in on the victory formation? Yeah. Whose idea was that?
That was mine. There's only 10 guys out there, though. I told Archie a couple times. I said, "Hey, if you don't punt," I said before the game, I said, "If you don't punt, you're going in on victory." And he's like, just stand back there. I was like, "Yes, just stand back." And so then we pulled out the running back, and the running backs were there. If you watch it, if you watch the All-22, it's kind of cool because he has a cool little clap at the end, like he's pretty happy. So, but we're like I said, it's coming. The Big Ten is here. We've got a ranked opponent. We're going to need he's a weapon. We're going to need him to be ready to go. And so it's good to get him in, though.
It's great.
Just stand back there.
Good. It was a good accent, a good impression.
He didn't overexpose himself too, right? You can't go on for sentence after sentence after sentence if you're just busting it out for the first time. Just a quick little spurt. Just stand back there. Like that was really, really good.
Good delivery, like good strategy in the way to go about it. And it's funny also because of the question that he was asking. Like Archie didn't know what he was supposed to. Just stand back there. Yes, that's what you need to do in the victory formation. But I will say this, and we'll finish the pod with this. It was not, and we don't have the audio of this, it was not the best delivery in a funny moment from a Nebraska head coach at the press conference Monday.
Oh my God. So Fred Hoiberg came up after Matt Rhule talked, and he was talking about how great his facilities were. And then in the crowd, meeting a media person a phone started playing very loudly, seemingly advice on what to do if your prostate is enlarged. And Fred Hoiberg instinctively looked up, said, "Oh, bleep, that sounds like a dilemma." And then asked a follow-up question on why he was waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning, having something to do with his prostate as well.
So
what
perfect.
a moment. What a moment.
So perfectly executed to the point where I was like, was that planted? Did he know that was coming? And I didn't know. There's no possible way.
No, I think he's like the natural, like, funniest guy that
hilarious.
Yeah, he's great. I love Fred.
So I was asked on X. Well, first people said, Mitch, was that your phone? Ha ha. No, it was, it was not my phone. I don't know who it was. I kind of looked over there when I heard the phone before I realized like what it was saying. Just all of a sudden somebody's phone is going off. And this, like we've seen it before where remember when Andy Kendy's phone went off and started playing Christmas music when Matt Rhule was talking. But it was ringtone. This couldn't have been a ringtone. I think it just somehow went to like a podcast or something, and it was an advertisement. I don't know, but I don't know whose phone it was. And
I do.
Yeah, we may not. You do?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you tell me off there.
I will not reveal that person's identity. Would you like to hear it? I have it bleeped.
Go. Let's go.
Right. You know, I'd put us in the top 5-10% in college athletics for what our facilities are. They're immaculate, and just how. That's a dilemma. What was the? Can you give me the answer on that? Because I usually get up at about 1 for the first time, and I think that's something. Anyway, I lost track. Where were we? Oh, facilities. Yeah. So anyway, the facilities.
So good.
You're going to be hearing "That's a Dilemma" for a long, long time.
Nebraska basketball changed the header on their Twitter profile to "That's a Dilemma" with a picture of Fred.
Very, very good. All right. Good way to end it today. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. A quick reminder, it's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff. Drake Toll, Gary Patterson, Jesse Holly have you covered each Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV.